He sings for her and he sleeps with her. But David knew that her husband was Uriah. Uriah was David's captain of his elite army. David gets the news that Bathsheba is pregnant. He calls for Uriah, Bathsheba's husband. He tells Uriah, come on, dude. Go home and be with your wife. David was hoping that Uriah would sleep with his wife. But even a drunken Uriah refused to honor the Jewish tradition, to only focus on the issues of war and only the war. David decided that he had to kill Uriah. So when it was time to go to battle, David ordered Uriah to be on the first line of the battle. Instantly Uriah was killed. Then David married Bathsheba. Not only did David have 7 wives, he had even secondary wives. God only knows how many wives David had. Everything David did, the curses passed on down to his many other children. The prophet Nathan confronted David, vowing that God would not allow this child to live. David admitted his sin and sought God's forgiveness and pled for the child's life. That brings us to point number 1. Who needs us? It's the children. And we must not forget that the Lord did not call us to replenish the earth for personal satisfaction. He intended for us to bear children and train them up in a godly way so that his glory could be made and manifested through them. But David had one son by the name of Absalom. I go on by myself, I'm going to preach it out. Absalom's name meant peace. Absalom was anything but peace. He inherited one of David's many traits. The most particular ones were deceit, revenge, and treachery. Absalom was determined to become king. Most of David's sons were determined to be king. That's why they could never get along. Absalom was still determined to be king. He was third in line. But somehow he moved to second because his brother Caleb died. So only left Amnon. Absalom had a plan to kill Amnon. After all, he raped his sister Tamar. Everything Absalom saw David do, Absalom picked it up. One night at a celebration, Absalom and his men got Amnon drunk and they killed him. That's what brings us to point number 2. Why? Because our children are very impressionable. They are looking for us to be the example and to nourish them with the tools they need to be able to make a difference in this world. Absalom was next to be king, but that wasn't good enough for him. Just like David, whatever he saw, he wanted. He got, no matter what the cost and consequence would be, Absalom was small. I want to stop and say, show the children how to work for things they want. Don't give them everything they ask for. One thing my mama did, she didn't give me and Danielle everything we asked for. Some stuff we had to work for. And the reason why, because she told us, when you get into the world is not going to give you nothing. You're going to have to work for everything you get. People in the world are not going to be nice to you. Now, he even found that to be true in God's house. And if we do that, if we lay hands on our children every night, anoint them with oil, pray over them and with them, speak into their lives, that they will be young women, men of destiny. that they'll have a relationship with God. And if you think that you can't do it, ask God for help and he'll do it with you. Train him up. David had failed in his duties as a father. But tell somebody, as long as we have God, we cannot fail. Point number 3, what will happen if we train them up? If we train them up, then the children will know how to be in this world, not a part of the world. Then they'll be willing vessels ready and waiting for God to use them. We see here that King David, due to the Absalom, was that's right. When Absalom murdered his brother Amnon, he fled to his grandfather's house. David had ordered Absalom to be exiled for 2 years. The Bible tells us that after 2 years, David allowed Absalom to return home. But David refused to see him for another 2 years. During this time, Absalom began to hate his own father. He knew that he was next in line to be king, but Absalom did not want to wait that long. So he started making plans to kill his father. I want to tell you, be careful what you let your children watch. Be careful who you allow them to talk to. Be careful when they're on the internet. Be careful who you let your children be around. Because you don't know what's being imparted in them. Too many parents always giving their child to this one, this. But one thing my mama did, she never left us with anyone who she didn't trust. No matter what the circumstances were. That's why you see so many accidents these days. Because we're leaving our children in it and everybody. And just because people have children, don't make them a parent. So that's why somebody asked, why did it come to this? David let Absalom down and raising him. That's why my heart goes out for the Atlanta public school system. You never know if they allow their children to do it for themselves. We never know if they could have parents on their own. When you train your child, some things you got to let your child do for themselves when you instructed them. Because in the world, nobody's going to help them do nothing. David had many children. And he probably didn't have time to set aside for Absalom. Besides being king, he had lots of children. Not to mention several wives. Oh, David, you should have made time. Make time for your children. No, it's hard, especially for single parents. My mother was a single parent. If she worked late and got home late, and we had gone to sleep, one thing she would do, she would come in our room, tuck up the covers and give us a kiss every night, no matter how late it was. She made room for her off day. She would sleep for a while. But then she would get up and spend a lot of time with us. Make time for your children, because if you don't, the world has a lot of time to give. That's why it goes for the church as well. People are under the impression that a youth ministry is there to babysit the kids. Or it's made to keep the kids busy. We are here to impart God's word in their hearts. To help them get where God will want them to be. To become a seasoned instrument so that God can use them. That's what we're here for. And parents ought to be that there are many children who love to be where we are, especially if you have good and caring parents. And when our children succeed, we need to applaud them for their efforts, because in turn we succeed. Show them that we're proud of them. If we do all these things, we can feel proud. But it's all up to them. Whether or not they want to make a positive or negative attribute in this world. Yes, sir. It's different if you haven't given a child what he or she needs to survive and be successful. But if you have, then you can say, I've been a good parent. And what will happen if you will? Point number 4. How will God's church benefit? The church will begin to catch on fire with new and willing vessels, unbelievers who will have a heart for God and God's people. But David failed to do most of these things. When it came to raising his son Absalom, Absalom saw everything in all amounts of clothes that his father had done while he was growing up. So Absalom began to devise a plan. It was no secret anymore that Absalom hated David. So the Bible says that Absalom started to do things that embarrassed his father. Every day Absalom would stand at the city gates. At this time, whenever people in David's kingdom needed or wanted something or to ask the king for a pardon, they would line outside the city gate, waiting to see King David. Absalom decided that he would get to the people before his father had a chance. Every morning at the crack of dawn, Absalom got on his chariot, stopped at the city gates. He would tell the people the king is too busy, he can't help you. He would let the people shake his hand. Instead, he